recorded.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining Small Business USA and our Ask the Expert call. As for our members, you know that we do this every Tuesday and Thursday for you, and you can send your questions in, and we send you, and actually, no, we don't send it. We post a recorded version of the call for you. So we're so happy to have everyone here today. We have Scott Gombar with us from Scott Gombar Marketing. So welcome, Scott, and thanks for being on the call.
Thank you. Good to be back.
You know, one thing about Scott, Scott generally gets the best participation on his calls, but he really is an amazing partner with Small Business USA. So thank you for doing the calls, and I know you're one of those trusted advisors that I really value and that I really look forward to referring people to. And you just do a remarkable job, and your knowledge is incredible. So I'm going to just share this on the call with everyone because, you know, Scott Gombar creates websites and he does internal marketing, and he'll tell you a little bit about that. But he's one of the most impressive individuals I have met, especially from the perspective of doing his homework and research and understanding social media like no one else. So if something changes, chances are Scott heard about the change before it was actually implemented. So with that introduction, before we get into Facebook for the holidays and Facebook marketing, Scott, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction. That was very nice of you to say, and I appreciate that. Like Colleen said, my business is technically inbound marketing, which means that I help businesses find potential clients using the internet, which means a lot of that is done through social media. A very high percentage of it is done through social media. Some of it is through traditional search engine marketing. I also do design websites and optimize those websites for those search engines and for social media. I do email marketing. I may introduce SMS marketing at some point. Haven't decided yet. You know, I really enjoy doing what I do. And on top of that, as Colleen said, I enjoy staying on top of all of those things. So I did do an Ask the Expert call with Facebook with Small Business USA. It's been a few months, and I will tell you, in those few months, a lot has changed with Facebook marketing. So this should be interesting.
That's awesome. You know, Scott, the majority of our questions today, really interestingly, are split down the middle. What's the best way to get the last-minute sales from a B2B perspective with Facebook and also from a B2C? I mean, it's really split down the middle, and I think there's two different answers to that question. Am I wrong?
There is definitely two different answers. B2B, I think a lot of small business owners, depending on what their business is, would probably agree. This is pretty much the slow time of year for B2B. A lot of businesses might shut down for a week or two or just slow down for a week or two, given that Christmas and New Year's Eve fall on Thursday, or New Year's Day falls on Thursdays, and it might just be long weekends. So a lot of businesses might be slow to respond this time of the year, especially to their social media requests and posts and so forth. For B2C, we were talking before you started the call, especially, like you said, I didn't even know this. The biggest shopping day for men is Christmas Eve. You know, people are still looking for deals, and so you can post those deals if you're a storefront or you're somebody who can get that product in the person's hand in time. You could still post those deals right up to Christmas Eve and get a high amount of traffic.
So let's talk about what do you tell your clients about what their strategy should be, or what are you doing for your clients right now around Facebook? What's important? If you could maybe say the top three things that are important this time of year, what would they be?
This time of year, you definitely want to stay holiday focused, and this is always a touchy subject for people. You know, there are some people that believe you should just have the generic holiday posts, not focus on one particular holiday, because you don't want to offend people of different faiths. I really leave it up to the personality of the business owner. It really that really should determine how you go about marketing. But happy holidays. What's your favorite Christmas song? What's your favorite thing about the holidays? Those types of posts seem to engage your audience the most this time of the year. You may not get a sale right now. You're not really trying to get a sale. You're trying to build the relationship is what you're ultimately trying to do. As an example, I went to a networking group in New Haven this morning that I was late for because my son's teachers were late. But anyway, I didn't go there anticipating landing a new client. I went there to build relationships, and that's really what the focus this time of the year should be, more so than anything else.
Yeah.
I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second, Scott.
Okay.
If I could it sounds like someone's not on mute. So everyone is unmuted for this call because we really want that interaction, and we want you to ask questions. And again, if you don't feel comfortable asking questions, please email info@smallbusinessus.com. But when you're not asking a question, could I please ask you to hit your mute button because there's a lot of feedback. I hear a lot of background noise. Thank you so much. Sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
Thank you. Now, I will say not so much because of the holiday season. One trend that has picked up a lot of steam on Facebook marketing in the last few months is videos. I've been testing for the last month or so video marketing for a few of my clients, and on average, no exaggeration, videos posted directly to Facebook receive 5 to 10 times more engagement than anything else. So that's a new avenue I'm approaching with most of my clients now, video marketing, and I encourage uploading videos. So I've even taken videos from some of my clients' YouTube channels and then cross-posted them to Facebook, and they've received just unbelievable numbers as far as engagement, interaction, and so forth. Third thing, I mean, that's tough this time of the year. It's really about, at this right now, just to get some engagement, build the relationship, build the trust. Maybe I would probably encourage some educational posts about your business, trying to get some more engagement from your audience.
So, I love the conversation about engagement, and it's interesting. Just as you were talking, somebody typed in, they said, what is the best way to engage your client via Facebook? So it sounds like video. I think what they're asking, though, is more relationship bound. How do you talked about going to that networking meeting. I could be wrong, so, if I'm wrong, please speak up. But how do you build relationships with Facebook? How do you engage them to the next level?
So consistency is one, being transparent. This across the board, all my clients, consistency, transparency, and then adding a little bit of a personal touch to it. Again, if you want to compare it to an actual networking event where you're face-to-face, you don't have that ability to face-to-face market on Facebook, which is ironic given the name. But you can post videos, and that's as close as you're going to get to face-to-face on Facebook. You can ask questions. You can post the occasional personal message, family picture. Depending on the business, it really each business has to have its own personality. Develop the business's personality on Facebook. Post informational or educational posts or even videos on this about your product or service, and just tell people what it is you do and how you do it. I have one client that it sounds like I'm working against what the client does, but I'm really not. And what I do, and I even do this for myself, I'll teach you how to do what I do. And for my client, I teach his audience how to not have to call him, but it turns out they usually end up calling him because they don't want to take the time to do what it is he does. As an example, I can paint. I know how to paint. I used to work for a painter. I can paint my own house. I can paint the bedrooms in my house, and I have done that. Do I want to do that myself, or do I want to hire somebody to come in and do it for me, even though I know how to do it? It really, what you'll find is the majority of the time people would rather pay somebody else to do it unless that is what they do for a living. So educating people on how they can do something, and if you can't do it, call me, is something that works very well on Facebook and other social media platforms, because you're giving them the education and you're showing them you're the expert in that subject matter, and at the same time they see value in what you're posting.
So, Scott, what is so I love that. And what do you think? What are the biggest changes that you see, that you've seen in the last month, or you see going forward in the future? And I do have a question for you about the Facebook office. So that question was in there. So I know as we talk about the future, that's something new they're doing.
Okay, so that is one of the things they're doing for the future. I don't have a lot of information on Facebook Office yet. Again, with the video, I know Facebook has said they're going to push video further. They have basically come out and said we're going to compete with YouTube. They are also going to make it more, they're going to make it easier for you to actually sell directly from Facebook. I know there's been hints of that in the past, but apparently that's one of the goals for 2015.
Wow, that could be really life-changing for a lot of brick-and-mortar stores and B2C retailers, don't you think?
Yeah, it could. Again, if it's done the right way. Nobody wants to see the constant sales pitch on anywhere anymore. But if it's done right, yes, if you post a product for sale on a Facebook page, people might buy directly from there, especially if you've built up that trust over time. One thing I will say with Facebook and in general is you can't go for the instant sale. It takes time to build that trust with your audience. So, you want to make sure that you're not alienating them. And then the flip side of that is to remain consistent. If you have a Facebook page where nothing is posted for some time, you're creating a void. There's going to be nothing going on that page, and then when you finally do post, you're going to find that you're not getting any engagement at all, and that's gonna hurt you in the long run. Facebook is definitely is moving more towards being business oriented. I'm sure everybody's aware of that. At the same time, obviously, they still encourage. They don't actually come out and say it, but they want you to spend money on advertising. I'm not, as far as Facebook Office, I have seen that, and I haven't researched it yet, so I couldn't really provide, enough feedback on that at the moment.
Let's switch gears into that marketing piece, because the beauty of Facebook is you can really target your audience, right? So
that is correct with advertising.
So, if you are, this is an unusual call because the questions I've gotten have really been split down the middle. We have two different types of people on the call, but so B2C you talked about a little bit, like you would specifically put items on there that they could sell. But would you pay to target new clients this time of year? What is your take on that?
No, I don't really.
And maybe you can explain that a little bit to people, because I'm not sure everybody really understands that piece of Facebook advertising.
Okay. So as far as targeting new clients, I wouldn't target new clients with the intent of making a sale before the holidays. You're probably not going to have a lot of luck with that. Your sales are more likely to come from your current clients or your current audience, people that you've been engaged with for some time now. Now, you could, obviously, I would tell you to continue to build your audience, 365 days a year, never stop. Even on Christmas Day, post something, if it's Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, New Year's Day, Happy New Year, Hanukkah, all of the holidays across the board, post something. You don't have to go crazy, but post something just to show that you're engaged. And by the way, those can be scheduled. As far as advertising goes, yes, you can target. It's hard to explain the level at which you can target. You can target down to locale, to zip codes, to lifestyles, to do I rent, do I own, where do I work, what is my job title, what is my income level, what is my marital status, age ranges. You can really target to very, very specific audiences, including buying patterns. So that is huge because you're not going to waste money on advertising. You're advertising to the people who you believe are your best clients, and if you have the research, if you know who your best clients are, if you go in to Facebook advertising knowing this is my best client base, then you're able to target more people just like that, and you can really your cost per acquisition will be extremely good. And I've done some case studies with current clients now on cost per acquisition. If we know who the potential client base is, cost per acquisition is very low with Facebook advertising. Versus if you're advertising on the radio or TV, or newspaper, you're advertising potentially hundreds of thousands of people that aren't even interested in what you have.
That's awesome, Scott. Hey, I do want to talk about the new year because for us at Small Business USA, Small Business Connecticut, we are really focused in our peer advisory board meetings right now with talking about the future and what does next year look like and how do you start the year off strong and what are your planning and what's different from last year. And I think when we look at Facebook and social media as a whole, sometimes January 1st triggers the start of something new. So we've been challenging our members, and our marketing program really forces you to dig in at a very micro level to really make sure that, without a question, those pieces of targeting your target market are clearly identified. But, I think about, we've been focused on, okay, let's figure out who exactly has spent money with us this year so we can focus on better capturing those sales next year and targeting our marketing resources better. And my question to you, Scott, is as we're all in this place where we're saying, okay, it's time for New Year, kind of let's get our last end-of-year sales in today, but January 1st is this new social media strategy. What would you do? How would you approach, if somebody just landed in your lap as a new client, how would you approach your social media strategy and direct them towards kind of a new and fresh perspective or a more effective perspective? How would you look at it?
A new client, the first thing you want to do is find out who their current customers are. What does that demographic look like? Is that demographic their best client? So there's a little bit of research involved to find out who their best client is. And, having worked with you for quite some time now, I know you know that. You want to find out who, you've actually challenged me to do this at times, find out who your best client is. And when you do that, you're able to then use Facebook or any social media to now target the person who matches that profile and measure those results. Every social media platform has a way to measure the results. And even if you don't like the internal analytics for each social media platform, there are tons and tons of tools out there that can be used to measure the results. And you can find out, and then you break it down. How much does it cost me to get this new client? So on an advertising point, you're able, that's where I start. I find out who is the best client for your business, and then I find out how to get those clients. Again, using social media, it's a lot easier to target that demographic. Whatever the demographic is, it doesn't matter. So I'm able to bring in more clients, and as a business owner, you can bring in more clients that fit your target demographic using social media. So we develop from that point, and then the plan is there has to be consistent posting across the board, whether it's you're paying to have it managed, whether you're doing it yourself, whether you have somebody in your office doing it. There has to be consistent delivery of a message on your social media platforms. Now, I wouldn't recommend that anybody try to tackle every single social media platform out there because nobody has that kind of time. So you have to pick a couple that work the best and use those to target who you want to target.
How would you identify, Scott, from last year what's working and which ones are not working?
As far as the platforms themselves?
Yes.
Yep. So measuring the analytics to see which one has the best engagement. So each Facebook, Twitter, Google, they all have internal analytics. And then if you're using Google Analytics, you can also see who's coming to your website from those different platforms. I also encourage, as much as possible, I do cross-post things, but I also have specific posts for Twitter, specific posts for Facebook and Google and LinkedIn and so forth. So you can also kind of like A/B testing, seeing what works and where. So over time, if somebody is measuring the effectiveness of what you're posting on each platform, you can determine what to move forward with. Not even a year, even a few weeks at a time. I've posted the same exact post to a page and only changed the image just to see which image works the best. And it does make a difference. I did a test just recently where it's a client who was advertising a deal for a restaurant, and it was actually a bar, and I posted one image of chicken wings and one image of a burger and fries. The rest of the post is the exact same thing, and the chicken wings got 4 times more engagement than the burger and fries.
Wow, so, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So same time, same everything. The chicken wings got 4 times more engagement. So it does make a difference. You have to look to see what's working, what's not working. Revamp what's not working. See how you can even what is working. Find out how you can make it work even better. So it does take a lot of testing, and it does take a lot of measuring. So there's a lot of analytical information involved and a lot of analysis involved. So if you're not comfortable with that, I would definitely recommend you have somebody who is comfortable with it. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost in a sea of numbers and statistics.
Okay. Hey, I want to just stop for a moment and see what questions are out there from people on the call. I just had a few just hit my email from people that are on the call, but I'd love to open it up for you guys to ask questions.
Yes, I have a question regarding you mentioned paid targeting. Can you give us some indication as to which sources we could use to pay to get new target clients?
Yeah, it would depend partly on what your business is, but Facebook is definitely one of the better platforms for that. If I had to pick without knowing exactly what you're looking for, Google and Facebook would be the 2 I'd go with. Because those are the 2 that you're going to be able to narrow down the most.
So just use their resources. I'm sorry, I'm very naive at this, but just use their resources to find out how to do that, is what you're indicating.
Well, yes. I mean, if you're going to try to do it on your own, then they are the best resource for that. If unfortunately, the 1-hour call would not be anywhere near enough time to explain how to narrow down. Facebook has a back end called the Power Editor, where you can go in and target even more specifically than you can with their ad manager. And it would take a little bit of time to be able to show you how to do that. But if you've created Facebook ads from the ad manager, there is a link to the Power Editor, and from there they take you step by step creating an ad, and there is a section where it allows you to select different demographics, and so Facebook has their own demographics, and then they've also partnered with a couple of other data services that also provide some demographics. So that's on the Power Editor side. The Ad Manager side does some of that, but not as much as the Power Editor side. Google just revamped their AdWords. Again, they do that probably a few times a year. So they're moving away from, the one keyword ads. They're moving more towards key phrases, which really shouldn't be surprising to anybody, but that's primarily because of voice search and mobile search. So you have Siri and OK Google and all of that. So Google and Facebook recognize that people are no longer searching for Italian. They're searching for Italian restaurants in New Haven and things like that. 4-star Italian restaurants in New Haven. So both of them have both of those services recognize that the searches are going in that direction, and have revamped their advertising to meet that need for their clients. But it does take time to understand the advertising platform for both of them. But if you're looking for something to target very specific demographics, and that will also give you the best reach possible, Facebook and Google are definitely the best ways to go.
Thank you.
What other questions are out there? I have a couple, Scott, that were emailed in. So how do you find your best clients? From my perspective, and then I'll let you go from your perspective, but, our marketing program, if you're a member, and I don't recognize this email address, I apologize if you are not, and I'm giving you this member answer. Week 4 and 5, you probably should have done this with your marketing consultant, your Small Business USA marketing consultant. That really, there's a very strategic formula to break it down, taking 6 of your clients and breaking it down to find out who is best to market to and who is most likely to spend money out of your target market, that 3%, that golden 3% that we're always looking for that spends money with us. But Scott, what is your perspective for him? How do you find who your best client is?
You pretty much nailed it on the head. I'm going to find out who my current best client is, and then that's who I'm going to advertise to. So currently, for me personally, my best clients have been in the service industry. Those are the ones I try to target now. Not to say I'm going to turn away anything else, as long as it's the right fit. But currently, my best clients are either in the service industry. Well, I think all of my clients are in the service industry. No, that's not true. I have one product-based client, and the rest are in the service industry. So you really have to take a look at who your current best client is, and then that's who you're going to target. So
it's interesting because I'm sorry, Scott.
Oh, that's okay. If you're not on Small Business USA's marketing system, I would encourage you to do that, because it will help you get there.
Thank you, Scott, for that plug. I will tell you, I had a conversation with a member yesterday, and they're looking at expanding their reach. It was the day before yesterday, actually, and he was looking at expanding his reach. He's a very successful business, but he was thinking, okay, what is the next step in his growth? And what was really interesting about where he wanted to go, and we were talking about branding a lot. We're doing a branding panel discussion in February, or middle of January, I'm sorry. But we're talking about, if there is a brand or there is a market that you really want to go after, maybe it's a customer that has not been a customer of yours in the past, there's a couple steps that you also want to take to make sure that you're really figuring out how to best serve your client. So I think there's another element of that, who is your future client as well. And is sometimes as you go through as a small business owner, we see this with a few customers, they've been servicing one customer for a very long time, but because of things changing, like Scott said, things change all the time. Every month something changes in social media. Because of the way that the environment changes, sometimes you have to pivot as a business owner and really adapt to a new client. And I thought he had great perspective, and we were working on his planning together. But his perspective was, if I want to target a new business, let's say it's teachers, well, first he's going to go meet as many teachers as he can and learn from them and learn about their business before he goes out and markets and tries to target those teachers. So it's really interesting. You know, it's very easy to go and look at, well, not very easy, but I think it's very strategic how you can go back and look at who your client is and how do you get more of them. And that's the Pareto principle. You spend 80% of your time doing things that reap 20% of the results. Let's increase to 20% that are producing 80% of your results. Let's duplicate those great efforts to get you better results. But there is some time in your business that you have to pivot. So don't underestimate how important it is to say, has my market changed too? I think sometimes people, if you keep doing what you've always done, I guess that's my little asterisk there, is be cautious, because sometimes your past client isn't always the best client for the future as well. So sorry to go on that little rant. It was a really interesting, as we're watching this very successful company grow, we're looking at how does he pivot now to grow market share and to capitalize on that. The next question I have from someone on the call is, I understand how to target my best client on Facebook, but how do I target my best client on Twitter? I'm on Twitter now and I don't see any analytics.
The Twitter analytics, they are there. I'm trying to remember how to get there from inside Twitter. I'm not looking at it at the moment. I know if you Google it, it'll come up with the link to Twitter analytics. Their analytics are not the greatest. There's still a lot to be desired with and they have made a lot of improvements, but there's still more to go. But they are there, and you can see what posts get the most engagement, and you can see and over time. And actually, even if you're on your Twitter feed, the new Twitter feed, the posts that are kind of larger text, larger font face, more bolded, those are the tweets that are getting the most engagement right now. They're getting the most activity on your feed. So even without seeing the numbers, you can see which posts are doing the best. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how to get to Twitter analytics from inside of Twitter. So
you know what? I actually just pulled it up as you were talking, and it's analytics.twitter.com.
That makes sense.
And when I typed it in, I went to Google Analytics. Like, I went to Google and typed it in like you suggested, and it came up with my page and my analytics, and it was really interesting. So what is your goal for an engagement rate on Twitter? Do you know that off the top of your head? Do you look at that number?
The goal is going to be different for everybody. So the goal would be obviously the most engagement possible. For Twitter, it's a little bit different animal than Facebook. You have to know what people are looking for on Twitter, so you could do the same thing on Facebook. You listen. I tell you, for me personally on Twitter, I actually listen for certain conversations on Twitter. You can do that with some third-party tools, and you can do that using Twitter itself. Now, I use Hootsuite to do it, but you can use Twitter yourself. You can use Twitter itself to do it as well. And you look for conversations that you can get involved with. You get involved with, share your expertise. That's how you can generate some audience on Twitter. You can also create your own conversations, create your own hashtag campaign. But the engagement is determined. What engagement you're trying to reach is determined by a few factors. One being, what is the goal? What do you want to accomplish? Another one is going to be, who is your current audience? If you don't have an audience that's been developed yet, then you may not be able to reach the engagement that you think you can reach. So there's some factors there. Those are just a few. There's more, but
I've got to tell you, if nobody's done this, I mean, I just got lost for a second in here. This is fascinating. I mean, if you leverage this as a tool, I mean, you can really create better quality tweets. I'm kind of personally glad I don't have to worry about that. Thank you, Scott Gombar. But it really is fascinating to see how many people see your posts and what the actual engagement is. Thank you so much for that. What other questions are out there? Maybe, Scott, you could give us I don't have any more questions. It seems like you've been power hit with questions on this call, but I would love to kind of know, overall, what advice would you give? What would you want to make sure that everyone knows before they hung up the phone today?
Overall, consistency is definitely one of the keys. It definitely, when you see a Facebook page for a business that's not, hasn't been updated in months or years, it's a turnoff, especially if you know that business is still active. Same thing for Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and maybe Google+. I wouldn't recommend Google+ to everybody. Consistency is one. Don't sell. The hard sale is dead as far as the internet is concerned. Nobody wants to see it. The occasional, hey, I've got this 50% off or something like that, that's okay, but 80% of the time, we'll use the 80-20 rule for that too. So 80% of the time, stay away from it. Measure. If you're just posting blindly and you're not checking to see what's working and what's not working, you're not doing yourself any favors. Track it. Track your results, whether you use Google Analytics or third-party analytics, or if you use your own, create a spreadsheet. You can even do it that way if you want. But measure and track it. And always stay upbeat. I'm probably not the best person to say this because I do it, especially sports. Stay away from the hot topics, sports, politics, and religion. People, you might offend somebody. I do post about sports occasionally, but I think that's consistent and measure and positive. Those are probably the best pieces of advice.
It is so funny that you said that positive one. I think that's so important, more important than people know. And I think when Twitter first came out, people used it as a tool to rant, and you see those negative postings on Facebook. It's kind of a downer. So I still appreciate saying that. Now I have a confession. So I'm gonna Scott. I'm looking at the analytics, and for those of you that don't know, Scott handles a lot of our social media marketing for us. So it's such an easy way to take a lot of work off your plate, because to do it well, you really have to be engaged with it. But I every once in a while think I'm incredibly profound, and I have something really remarkable to share with the world. And so I'll go out there and I'll throw it on Facebook and Twitter myself, and all these things that I just think are so profound, my engagement is very, very low. I look at the consistency around the results you drive versus the results I drive with my tweets, and it is really eye-opening. Just the way that you use hashtags and the way that you really respond and give the right information. So thank you for that. I owe you so much for that. But it is really interesting.
But it's funny because your post may have just received low engagement because of when you posted it. It may not have anything to do with what it was. It could just be that you posted it the wrong time of day, or it could be the wrong day of the week, or it's that's
all my posts are 5 o'clock in the morning, Scott. It's like
that could be it. Everybody's sleeping.
11 o'clock at night.
Yep. Twitter, believe it or not, the best times to post on average, this is not for everybody, but on average, is commute time, so 7 to 9 and I guess 4 to 6 in the afternoon. Believe it or not, you're probably thinking, well, why are people looking at tweets while you're driving? A lot of people don't drive. They take the train or they commute. So people are looking at Twitter during those times specifically. And they say Facebook, the best time to post is around lunchtime and then again around dinner time, because people come back from lunch and the first thing they do is go to Facebook. People finish dinner, the first thing they do is go to Facebook. But again, you have to measure. You have to test to see if that's working for you. That's not going to work for everybody. That's just an overall average. The other thing I would also say is, if, hopefully this doesn't happen to you, but if this does happen, don't ignore it. That's the negative comment. Somebody posts about your brand, your business, negatively on your page. Just to give you two different examples. One, I was working with a business who received a negative comment, and it was a service business, and the comment was that one of his vans almost ran him and his daughter off the road. Instead of addressing that, he just deleted it. Now, by just deleting it and not addressing, not saying I'm sorry, as a show of how sorry I am, here's my service for free next time you need a service call. He just deleted it, and that leaves not only a negative taste in that person who posted it's mouth, but you don't know who else he's going to share that with on social media. There used to be a saying years ago. I used to be a restaurant manager, and there used to be a saying that said, a negative experience, somebody will tell 4 people. A positive experience, they'll only tell 1. Well, today, with social media, a negative experience can reach thousands. And just to give you another example, I personally have a problem with UPS right now. 2 days in a row, they left packages on my front porch in the pouring rain when somebody was home. So they didn't ring the doorbell. They didn't let anybody know the package was there. So 2 days in a row, I had packages sitting on my front porch in the pouring rain. One day was some pamphlets I created, and another day was a laptop that I ordered for a birthday gift. And pouring rain. I posted that to Twitter. I have a little over 20,000 followers on Twitter. Posted it both times to UPS, at UPS. Now, UPS got right back to me and said, let's work on this, let's find out what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. But that's the kind of reach you have on social media today. 20,000 other people potentially saw that. That's not the kind of business UPS wants to show that they run, so obviously they're going to address it.
That's awesome. And how would you check that? You would just type in under search your business name at small BIDCT for Small Business Connecticut.
You can search that way. You can also search. You can also so there are tools that allow you to listen for certain keywords. So you would, in your case, I might just listen for Small Business Connecticut and Small Business USA, just to make sure there isn't a conversation that I'm not aware of that's going on. Because if there is, you definitely want to, if it's a positive conversation, obviously you want to get involved. And even if it's a negative one, you want to say, oh, I'm so sorry this happened. Let's see how we can fix this.
Oh, Scott, and I was just about to wrap up, and we just got another question in from someone. It said, other businesses continue to post on my Facebook site. How can I stop this? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
What are they posting? Are they posting for their own business?
I don't know. I think so. I don't know.
That's what it sounds like. If they are, it's as long as they're not your competition, it's not really a bad thing. That's also giving more attention to your page. But if it's direct competition, at this point, and I think Facebook is changing this, so that might not be a good thing. But I think at this point, the only way they can post is if they like your page. So if they like, you can remove them from liking your page, I believe, and then they won't be able to post to your page anymore. So that may not be 100% accurate. I'd have to look into that one. But if they're not direct competition, that's actually a good thing because it's getting more people, that's getting attention to your page.
Awesome.
Scott, I have a question.
Go ahead.
About the videos that you mentioned earlier. Is there a right length or a right, I've got a women's retail business, a right length or a right perspective to look at when doing the video side of this? And is there a best source to use to put the videos on?
I'm not sure if I was. So you want a resource to learn how to do it?
Yeah. That's probably the best answer.
There's probably quite a few, but I'll tell you what. If you can give me a couple of days, I'll put something on my own website for it. I already have some videos on YouTube and Facebook on how to use the Power Editor. I don't recall for sure if I created one for video. I may have, but if you want to send me an email, I'll follow up with you.
And do we have your email address?
You can just send it to scott@scottgombar.com. That's SCOTT.
Yep, got it.
GOM. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
GOMBAR. Yeah.
Yep. Just send me an email and I'll check. I may already have something created, but if I don't, I'll get something to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Any other questions before we wrap up? All right, Scott, as always, thank you so much. I love the questions, and I love your responses and how open you are to help us, and you're just such a good partner. So thank you so much for the call, and enjoy the holiday season, everyone. So thanks for being on the call, and can you just give everybody your contact information and tell them about your podcast, too, really quick before we go.
Okay, so the podcast is still in the works. I'm actually going to be working with Sandra Long, who's another member of Small Business USA and the LinkedIn expert of the group. We're going to create something on another website called growthhackerradio.com, and we're going to have podcasts on everything about growing your business using, social media, search engines, email marketing, everything you could think of that's internet-based and maybe not so much internet-based. So that's coming hopefully early January, but I'm not sure yet. If you visit the site now, you can sign up and you'll get updates. Let's see. Contact information, my phone number is 203-806-0736. That's my office phone number. Email scott@scottgombar.com. That's SCOTTGOMBAR.com. And the website is also scottgombar.com. Most of my social media is at Scott Gombar, except for Facebook, which is Scott Gombar LLC.
Awesome, Scott. Thank you so much. Members, thanks for being on the call today. Next week is our last week for calls for the end of the year. We just know that people are too busy the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's, so we'll start back up the first week of January. But next week there's a great call with Pete Winiarski. He's an international best-selling author of Act Now. He's got a new book coming out, but he's going to talk to us about goal setting, which I think is just such a great topic to end our last week of calls of the year for with Small Business USA. It's something that's really we're talking in all of our peer advisory boards and with our consultants. We're talking with members about right now. So fun week next week around goal setting, around your personal goal setting, and also about your business. So look forward to talking to you and hearing from you guys next week. And enjoy your weekend and get all the holiday shopping done and get some rest and enjoy your holiday parties. And let's go drive some sales. Thank you, Scott. Have a great day. Thanks for being on the call.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.